Is there possible portal news on the way? Can Indiana land two of the biggest quarterbacks in the portal, Maalik Murphy and Jackson Arnold?
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. It is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. You can continue the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Well, thank you so much for being here, and shout out to all of my everydayers. Those of you that come back Monday through Friday, that number is growing, ladies and gentlemen, and you are the reason. So thank you so much for that. We're having a lot of fun over here covering the biggest topics in Indiana athletics. Later on in the show, we're going to look at why ticket prices are insane for the college football playoff, with Indiana and Notre Dame being the hottest ticket in the college football playoff. Plus, how about some receivers for Indiana in the transfer portal? A couple of names that I think the Hoosiers need to be going after. But to complement those wide receivers, could we have news coming for Indiana at the quarterback position? Time to jump in on some of the biggest names. We've talked about one of these guys, Jackson Arnold from Oklahoma. I want to revisit that conversation. But the name that everybody is talking about, the one that has really just shot up the rankings, shot up on the market, and has become the hottest name in the transfer portal, is Maalik Murphy, the Duke transfer quarterback. This kid is a baller, and you look at his numbers, you look at what he has done in 2 years in college, and it's pretty impressive, and we're going to get to that in a second. And I know that there is still a large portion of the Indiana fan base, you, the Hoosier fans, who believe that Indiana is fine at the quarterback spot. Taven Jackson's a great young player, and Tyler Cherry could be really, really good as well. I totally understand. But I still stand by my point that you have to go get somebody to make the room competitive. And while Taven Jackson very well may win the starting job, and if he does, more power to him, then he obviously deserves it. I just think there always has to be talent in there, and an overwhelming amount of talent in today's era of college football with NIL and transfer portal. You can't afford to gamble and strikeouts. That's what I'm concerned with. And so that's why I think Indiana needs to go and get somebody who's at least competitive and that you're confident could win the starting job. And I think these two names are the ones that I'm really in favor of, with Maalik Murphy and Jackson Arnold. And we'll start with Maalik Murphy, the Duke transfer quarterback. If you remember, he was at Texas his freshman year back in 2023, where he saw limited action with the obvious stacked room that Texas has at quarterback, but he did have some okay numbers. And you saw what the potential was with Maalik Murphy. Just the 71 passing attempts, had 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. He transferred to Duke, and that's where he is now taken off. Listen to some of these numbers in 2024. He passed for 60% completion percentage. Would like to see that be a little bit higher, but not bad. Almost 3,000 yards in the air, 2,933 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. Okay, this kid is legit. He can absolutely sling it. And while I wouldn't consider him a dual threat quarterback, his rushing stats are not anything crazy. He can extend plays with his legs. He can avoid pressure. He's very Lamar Jackson-esque in terms of extending the play. Again, I don't see him as big of a threat to take off and run, right? I just don't see him being that type of guy. He very well could develop into that, but this dude is just going to stand in the pocket and deliver it on time and on target and make the right decision. Yes, he had 12 interceptions, but folks, he had 26 touchdowns. And he has a really, really pretty deep ball as well. And I think people are jumping on him for the potential that he brings. And is Indiana stalking to this kid? Yeah, they definitely are. But we just don't know a whole lot about where Indiana stands. And I'm going to talk about more with that with the wide receivers coming up in just a little bit. Indiana's talking to him because everybody's talking to him. He's probably the hottest commodity in the portal right now. And I think it's somebody that you talk about is young but has legitimate experience. He is in that category. And we've talked about that with offensive linemen, defensive linemen, in other positions where you want to complement it with guys who you bring in for a one-year rental who are just super, super experienced, or you bring in somebody that you can have for several seasons. That's what Maalik Murphy is. Maalik Murphy is the latter of that. You bring him in, he could be a 2 or 3 year starter for you. He would come in and elevate the room immediately. So keep your eyes on him. And I do want to bring Jackson Arnold back into the fold as well, because I think people are starting to write him off. For whatever reason, he's starting to slip just a little bit in popularity, which could work in the benefit of Indiana. Because let's be real, we are still not at the place as a program to get the highest of the high and spend the biggest of the big with money to get the best of the best. We're still not at that spot yet as a program. But Jackson Arnold's a really, really good quarterback, and I don't know why people are hating on this idea. Yes, he did not start every single game, but do you realize what his stats were this year? He threw for 63% for 1,400 yards, 12 touchdowns, and just 3 interceptions. You talk about a guy that makes the right decisions with the football. Jackson Arnold is it. And I think people are upset because in the bigger games this season, right, his game against Tennessee, a top 10 game, that was the game where he had no touchdowns and just the 1 interception. You also had his last 3 games where he didn't have anything, no touchdowns and no interceptions. I'm telling you, Jackson Arnold is legit. But Maalik Murphy is legit too. And I would be fine with either one of those guys. But I do think that Indiana, while we're not there yet, we are still having a seat at the table. And I don't think Tino Sunseri leaving, yes, I do think it's a big deal. Some people have downplayed it. I think it's a bigger deal than some are making it out to be. But that's not going to hold us back from getting a big-name quarterback. And I think these two guys, Maalik Murphy and Jackson Arnold, have to be at the center for what Indiana wants to do at the quarterback position in the transfer portal. But when you go get some quarterbacks or whoever that guy may be, they got to have some dudes to throw the ball to. And I think there's some big-time receivers in the portal right now that Indiana needs to be focused on and that you need to know about. We're talking wide receivers in the transfer portal right after this here on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action down the stretch with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the National Football League. Welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Again, thank you so much for being here, man. This show is growing astronomically. And look, the people upstairs, I'm talking my bosses, not my neighbors, they are really, really impressed and really excited about what's going on across the entire Locked On Podcast Network. And Locked On Hoosiers is a big part of that. So thank you so much for your support and coming back each and every day, whether you watch on YouTube or you listen on your audio platforms. I really, really do appreciate you. And so to help out the show just a little bit, that is free to you every single day, Monday through Friday. Be sure, if you're watching on YouTube right now, I'm looking right at you, be sure you like this video and every video that you watch. It helps get it out there, the algorithm on YouTube. Again, I don't understand it, but that's what I'm told. Also, be sure you comment down below. Who should Indiana go after? What quarterback do you want the Hoosiers to land in the transfer portal? Also, some more receiver names. You may have some similar ones that I'm going to talk about in just a second, but I do want to hear what you have to say as well. And then be sure, if you have not already, subscribe to the channel, okay? You know the goal at this point. We're trying to get to 4,000 subs before the start of the new year, and we're so close to getting there, and I think we can do it in the next couple of weeks. So help us out. Be sure you do that if you're watching on YouTube. And for those of you that listen every day on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, any of those platforms, thank you so, so much as well. And be sure you've got those notifications turned on so you never miss a new episode of Locked On Hoosiers. So we're talking a lot of quarterbacks, right? Maalik Murphy, Jackson Arnold, heck, even Connor Wegman from Texas A&M. But they've got to have some dudes to throw the ball to. And sure, Indiana's going to have some receivers coming back, but you can never have enough. And I think there's some big, big names right now in the transfer portal at the wide receiver position. A guy that we've mentioned already that I do want to bring back up before a couple of big names as well, Joseph Williams. And I think this is somebody Indiana is really starting to gain traction with. They've already offered him a scholarship, right? That is confirmed. He tweeted that or posted it on X, right? He has informed us and informed the world that Indiana has offered him. Well, so have about 20 other Power 4 programs because they understand how good Joseph Williams is and how good he could be. Remember, folks, this was the AAC Freshman of the Year at Tulsa. Let me say that again. The AAC Freshman of the Year at Tulsa at the wide receiver position. Caught 30 balls, 588 yards, and 5 total touchdowns. His longest was a 72-yarder, okay? He did carry the ball once, and I think that's a possibility moving forward, but he is being recruited, obviously, as the receiver, and those are just freshman numbers. Freshman numbers. All right, on 30 catches, 5 touchdowns, his average was 20 yards a catch. 20 yards every time you threw the football to him and he caught it. That is insane as a freshman. And that's at Tulsa. Imagine what he could do with a Maalik Murphy or a Jackson Arnold or Taven Jackson if that does end up being the starter, if he ends up being the starter next year for Indiana. Yes, he's going up against better competition, but he's got better talent around him too. And I think that's what people are attracted to, much like Maalik Murphy, is the potential of what Joseph Williams brings as just a sophomore next year at the next level, talking from mid-major to Power 4 football. I really, really like this kid, and it's somebody you could go get. You're going to have to pay him, but you're not going to have to pay just astronomical numbers. You're not just going to have to pay out the wazoo, right? Or other words, to land this kid, because there are other big names, whether it's quarterback, receiver, defensive line, edge. I mean, whatever the case may be, there are certain guys in the transfer portal, just like in high school recruiting. Look, you're going to have to fork over some cash and some lumps and lumps of cash. And Indiana is in a good spot, but we have to be real here. We're just not there yet. And I also think Curt Cignetti's somebody who isn't going to give into that right now. I think he's still in that old school mindset of, look, you're good and we're going to play the game because that's what we have to do with paying kids, but you're not going to get all this stupid amount of money that other guys are getting. We're just not going to do it. You can come here and play and get better and be a part of a really special program that's in the college football playoff right now. But in terms of just paying you some of these dumb numbers we've seen, I don't think Curt Cignetti's that type of guy. Not yet, anyway. He may change his tune on that later on, but I think right now he's still very, very smart with the money that they're wanting to spend. And I also think, and I also know that Indiana has done a really, really good job, which is making it tougher, yes, but I totally understand and I totally respect the fact that Indiana has kept their transfer portal targets very, very shush, whatever you say, however you say that. They've kept it very quiet, to keep it simple. And I think there's a couple of reasons for that. Like I've told you, my everydayers, you know this. It's because you're focused on several things right now, including, I don't know, the college football playoff, right? You still are preparing and game planning and managing the college football playoff that you're participating in. More on that coming up in just a little bit in terms of the ticket prices to get into the door to watch Indiana and Notre Dame, which are going insane right now. But this program is focused on a lot of things: playoff, portal, recruiting, whatever. And so they've kept this very close to the chest. So we are slowly learning about guys that are receiving offers or ones that are coming to visit. That list is very short and very, very quiet right now. And as we learn more, we'll share it and react to it. But for now, there's just not a whole lot going on in terms of what's public. But good things are happening behind the scenes. I promise you. Listen to me. I promise you good things are happening. Don't be worried. It's going to be okay. All right, so Joseph Williams is a name you need to know in terms of wide receivers. Now, I'm going to throw two bigger names at you. And Indiana has not been linked to these guys. Indiana has not been confirmed with these guys or have visits as far as I know. But two names that I do think we need to reach out to and be involved with. And maybe we have. Again, that just hasn't been released as public knowledge yet. The first is Dane Key, the junior receiver from Kentucky. Okay, this season had 47 catches, 715 yards, and 2 total touchdowns. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot. 47 catches is a lot. This was a guy that Kentucky used as their go-to guy, right? First down, get a couple of yards. Second down and long, make it third and manageable. Third down and short, if we can't run, we got to find our guy. And that's why his yardages may not be crazy, and his touchdown numbers definitely are not, but his receptions are extremely high. 2 out of his 3 years at Kentucky or in college, he has over 40 catches on the season. So that's pretty impressive if you ask me. And I think for this guy who has spent all 3 of his years there in Lexington, listen to this. Last year, again, 47 catches, 700 yards, 2 touchdowns. In 2023, as a sophomore, had 42 catches for 636 yards and 6 touchdowns. As a freshman, he caught 37 balls for 500 yards and 6 touchdowns. And this is somebody who can go up and win a one-on-one. Just go watch his highlights, man. He's 6'3", 210 pounds. He can win the one-on-one battles. And I think that's why you've seen a guy like Dane Key, who is getting big-time consideration from other SEC programs. And whether Indiana has a shot here, I don't know. We're going to find out. But I think we need to be involved because you bring in somebody who has legitimate power for experience. Yes, he's a rental. He's not going to be here very long, but he's going to bring very big time experience. And I also think not only the experience on the field, but off the field as well, in the locker room as a leader for whatever young guys you're bringing in, some of your recruits that you're bringing in, and hopefully some of the younger transfers as well that you try and go get. So keep an eye out on Dane Key, all right? Dane Key, D-A-N-E, Key from Lexington there at Kentucky. And then the other one who has been, I can't remember if we've mentioned him on the pod or not, but he has become the very, very highly recruited guy in the transfer portal, one of the highest rated recruited guys in the transfer portal at the wide receiver position. Let's get an update. He is still, Dane Key is the 3rd ranked recruit at receiver in the transfer portal. This guy is still the number 1 ranked receiver in the transfer portal, and it's Eric Singleton Jr. from Georgia Tech. If you've been keeping up with the portal at all, you know who this guy is. 56 catches, 750 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Very similar to Dane Key. go up and get it type of guy. You need a catch, you go to him. Touchdown numbers aren't going to blow you away, but when you need a catch, he is going to get it. Had 48 catches as a freshman and with 6 touchdowns, 56 catches as a sophomore with 3 touchdowns, and he brings experience and years of eligibility. That's why he is such a huge, very popular receiver right now in the transfer portal. Those are the 3 I've got my eye on. They're big targets. Those are big fish, man. But Eric Singleton Jr. from Georgia Tech, Dane Key from Kentucky, and Joseph Williams from Tulsa. If Indiana can land one of those guys, I think you're in really, really good shape. Pair that with a quarterback like Maalik, Murphy, Jackson, Arnold, and watch out. This offense could be dangerous next year. All right, coming up on our final segment on Locked On Hoosiers, ticket prices are going insane for the college football playoff. For the first ever 12-team playoff in our game, Indiana, Notre Dame are the highest prices by far. But why? I'll tell you coming up next right here on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Omaha Steaks. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. It's guaranteed perfection in every single bite. And right now, you can save on unforgettable gifts with 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, score an extra $30 off with the promo code COLLEGE. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience, and the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages featuring gourmet favorites. From legendary steaks to mouth-watering desserts and more, save 50% off site-wide for a limited time at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with the promo code COLLEGE. That's 50% off right now at omahasteaks.com. Yes, the Peyton Manning type of Omaha. And an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. Minimum purchase may apply. omahasteaks.com. Final segment here on Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you again so much for being here. To all my everydayers, those of you that are just now getting into the routine, or maybe this is your first time here. Hope you're enjoying it because we're having a lot of fun here on the show. And this is a topic I've seen a lot in the comments. I've seen a lot on social media, and I thought it would be kind of interesting and fun to end the show with it today. Have you checked out ticket prices? I'm sure a lot of you have, for the college football playoff game 1 where Indiana is going to Notre Dame. And I feel like people are torn in this state, right? I feel like we're torn because a lot of people are super excited. Like, what a cool moment. Indiana, Notre Dame. You get the in-state rivalry. How cool is this for our state? And I'm very much in that category. But I do feel like just from reading and listening and hearing and talking with folks, there's a lot of people who are like, man, I want both teams to be successful for the state of Indiana, and it sucks that we're having to play in the very first game. Totally understand that as well. But I do think everybody understands the magnitude of this and how big of a deal that this is. So much so that out of all the first round games, you're talking Tennessee, Ohio State, Clemson, and Texas. I mean, you're talking big time matchups here. None of those ticket prices get anywhere near what the get-in price is for Indiana and Notre Dame. If you go to gametime.com, right, Game Time tickets, you can download the Game Time app, huge sponsor here at Locked On, and you start looking at prices. Do you know what the cheapest price just to get in the door, just to have a seat there at Notre Dame Stadium? Do you know what that price is right now? $985. Yes, $985 just to get in, just to see it in person. The most expensive ticket right now on Game Time is $5,000. What in the world? That is insane. That is unbelievable to think about. And yes, it's cool looking on the outside, but I don't have that kind of money. I don't know what you do for a living, but I'm not going to be there. And Notre Dame sold out. Like Notre Dame, the university and their athletic department, they sold out and they're turning people to secondary markets. And this is what you're getting here. And this is not the website's fault. This isn't Game Time or whoever's fault. I mean, it's just the world that we live in with tickets and big time games. And so I do hope that there are Indiana fans that are able to get into the door. I just don't know what that's going to look like because of the prices. I'm looking up right now, Clemson and Texas. Let's see. Yeah, make sure you do the all-in pricing. Let's go lowest to high. The cheapest ticket for Clemson, Texas right now is $249. $240. You can get in there for $250, which is still a lot of money. But that's not bad. You can at least go by yourself and afford that. What's another game? Let's look up the Ohio State playoff game where they're hosting Tennessee at the Shoe. Let's look this price up really, really quickly. All in, do price low to high. Yeah, you can get in for less than $300. Still a lot of money, but you can get in for $283 right now. So why in the world are our tickets that much more expensive? Well, I think it has to do with the fact that we are the biggest story in college football, and Notre Dame fans are crazy in a good way. I have all due respect with that. I think all of that definitely plays into this, and it does go to show what Indiana and Curt Cignetti have built. It goes to show the historical nature of Notre Dame, and just how big of a deal this is that these two teams are playing each other in the college football playoff. Much respect for Notre Dame historically. This current team, not so much. And more on that to come as we get closer to the game. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Again, thank you so much for being here, man. We're having a blast. Portal season is going absolutely crazy. And hey, we've got basketball coming up at the end of this week. Indiana and Nebraska. Don't worry. We're going to talk about it as we get closer and keep it locked in right here on Locked On Hoosiers with the latest in the transfer portal. Where will Indiana go? Only time will tell. All right, we'll have another episode for you tomorrow. On the way out, be sure you like this video. Comment down below your thoughts. Are you going to Indiana, Notre Dame? Let me know if you've got tickets. And hey, if you've got an extra one, I'm happy to go. I'd love to be there. And just kidding, maybe. And be sure that you subscribe to the channel on YouTube. And for my audio listeners, be sure you subscribe and follow us and turn on those notifications as well. Okay, we're back tomorrow, Hoosier fans. So until then, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.